Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Dr. Marcia Reynolds with me here today. Marcia is a master certified coach, has been a behavioral researcher for 30 years, passionately seeking new ways to create connections and open our minds to learning. She was a founding member of the fifth global president of the International Coaching Federation and is recognized in the ICF Circle of Distinction for her contributions to the global coaching community. Global gurus place her in the top 10 coaches in the world and the number one female coach on the list. So we're very honored to have you here today. She teaches in 5 coaching schools in the US, Asia, and Europe, and has published 5 international best-selling books related to coaching and neuroscience. She has a doctorate in organizational psychology and master's degrees in communications and adult learning. Thank you. Welcome to the show, Marcia.
Thank you. Thanks for asking me.
All right. So why don't you give us a sort of an overview of the services you're currently coaching people through, and then we'll dive into the details.
Okay. Well, it's been such an evolution of what I do. You know how we always think we're in control, but we're really not. It ends up what it is that people want. And if we're not paying attention, we might miss that. So, it's like when I left the corporate world after 16 years, I thought I was going to teach just leadership training. And I still do some of that. But even that, it's based in communication skills, connection, cooperation. But I had then found this thing called coaching. It was 1995. And so it was the right timing. It was just starting to be known in the world as something that was separate from mentoring and advising and guiding, telling people what to do or therapy. And so I jumped in, got trained, and again, timing that my school started the International Coaching Federation, which is now over 50,000 members in the world. Wow. Yeah, a lot of us coaches out there. And, but my real curiosity from way back was, how do people learn and grow? So I was always running training departments. So, and that's what prompted me even to get my doctorate, was to understand what happens in the brain that creates sustainable change.
Right.
Because training programs really just inspire you to try. And then as soon as it feels awkward, you go back to the old behavior. Learning retention is not good. So, and I was a trainer all those years and I knew that. And so I got very passionately obsessed with coaching and how it works. And then every time I'd learn stuff, I'd write books and so because of that, it just has elevated my visibility in the world. And I do a lot of speaking at conferences and teaching coaching at coaching schools, as well as, companies hire me to come in and teach a coaching approach so their leaders understand how to use a coaching approach to truly connect and inspire the people that work for them. So that's, other than I do some coaching as well as teaching coaching and speak on coaching. And I finally, when I figured out that's it, really, that I'm called to do, that's when my business took off. So
okay. And you write about coaching.
Yeah, I love to write. Well, and that's a good thing. I like to write. People often come to me and say, well, I have a book. I have a book I want to write. I just haven't gotten around to it. And I said, do you like to write? No, not really. I said, then don't bother. Write a booklet, write blogs, do podcasts, but don't do something you hate. You won't sustain it and won't be very good.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit about the change in leadership styles from the traditional viewpoint, right? Like even the military, I know it used to be, I'm in charge, you do what I say. And even the military leaders are like, I don't know what's going on. I'm open to feedback. You guys, you're right. They're a little more receptive, and it's changed.
Right. Well, actually, in the military, they've been teaching emotional intelligence for years,
Okay.
and how to engage people on a, instead of just telling them what to do and acting like they're just commodity, but seeing each individual.
Okay.
People need to feel seen, heard, and valued. And so that's been important there. So I always say when I was in corporate, we always hoped our leaders would, really want to connect with us and listen to us and want the best for us. But we didn't usually get it. But these days, the employees, especially the younger ones, they're expecting it. And if you don't give that to me, I think I'll go start an online business, or do something else. And so it's shifted. And, there's a great book that looks at the trinity of management. And it said we started with, let me step back. There's an exercise I do in my classes where I say, list the top 6 things you did in the last year as a leader, and then I have them look at what's the first word that you used, and oftentimes it's I did this, I did this. And it used to be, it's like what the leader did in order to get everyone to work harder.
Right.
But then it moved into kind of the team concept, around in the 90s, that was a big thing of really looking at that. And so it's started shifting to we did this together, but now it's really important that they use the word they, and very few times, and certainly not in the US, has someone started a sentence with, they did this, the team did this without me. And that's what they were most proud of, but if you can look at, like, especially if you're a leader of leaders, if you own the company or, you're over some of the other, like supervisors, leaders, that, what is truly your role as a leader? It's to develop other leaders. It's to develop people to work on their own, that they should be able to not have to come to you all the time and to be able to figure things out. And then you can have time to do your other things like strategize, and that are really more important than to be stuck in the weeds. So to really learn, how does it, and you have to change your values, because it's like, well, if I'm giving it over to them and they do really well, why do they need me? Well, but you're the one they will remember. You're the one that they will stay in the company for. You're the one that, it was Jim Collins who said, choose the right people to be on the bus. And I always say, yeah, but you want to choose the people that if the bus breaks down, they're going to get out and help you fix it.
Right.
And how do you be that kind of leader that they'll want to do that? And it's really shifting. I'm in less than 2 weeks, I'm off to China, and I'm teaching a class called the Heart-Powered Leader. We've had all these leaders sign up for that. That's still something here. I'm like, gee, I don't know that I could sell that in the U.S. That would probably freak them out.
Sure. You raised some interesting points. I've heard, for example, that just the Western civilizations in general are still very self-centered. And so when you ask them, who are you, right? And they'll say, oh, I'm an engineer, or I'm a this, or I'm a that, and it's based off of things more than I've heard.
They do instead of who they are. Yeah.
But the relationship to others, the context of I'm a father, I'm a coworker, I'm a team member, that sort of thing. It was more selfless.
Yeah. I'm going to correct that. There's been I've had a lot of business work with companies in Europe that, when I say that, we're the ones here in the U.S. that are far behind. I taught leadership for Maersk, the shipping company, for 10 years. And what they did was they had to shift their systems. You have to reward people for leadership. You can't just reward them for KPIs, for, the numbers. So every leader had at least 3 goals they had to achieve for the year, but they also had 2 leadership goals, and with coaching, using a coaching approach being one of the most common. And, this is a shipping company, and a lot of the people came from the military, and it was so amazing being a part of that transformation. And, now there's lots of coaches and people that are doing that. And maybe it's more Northern Europe than Southern Europe. I don't really know. But I know that that when I look at across the world, who has not embraced that? I'm sad that it's still not fully embraced. It is in some places. And I would say healthcare, has done some good work around that. We were talking about that I have coached and I have taught classes for some of the local hospital systems, for Mayo, Banner, and coach leaders at Barrows, and really looking at, in the relationship of you and your team members, you have to step out of I am the expert who knows it all.
Okay.
To, as the CEO of Microsoft says, don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all. Yeah. And that's a real shift of values as well as who I am. That's going to just then direct the behavior. You can't just focus on behavior because that won't sustain. But there has to be a shift in what's most important and who I am in that picture in order for the change to truly happen.
Right. Okay. So what would you say sort of sets you apart then? You mentioned there's within your federation in themselves was like 50,000 members, right? So what comes easy to you that maybe others find challenging?
Well, so you called yourself a nerd. I'm really kind of nerdy, and I got to get the research, and there's new stuff out there, and they're learning more, in neuroscience, if you were teaching something 10 years ago, you're probably wrong because the science is still so fairly new. And, and especially, I see coaching as a learning technology. So when we're looking at how do people learn and what's happening different in the brain. So I think because I'm so addicted to learning that and then sharing it, what I'm really good at is translation of taking all that research and all that stuff and making it applicable and easy for people to do. And I have to say that for 16 years working in training departments and my second master's in adult learning instructional design, I had to figure out how to transfer information and make it to where people can do it. And that's what people say, especially my big bestseller, Coach the Person, Not the Problem. They said, every day I get a note on LinkedIn. It's like, thank you. You made me finally know why I do what I do and simplified it, took the mystery out of it and elevated my coaching to be more impactful. So I think that's the thing is that, and people are so grateful, that I'm giving it to them in a way that they can digest it and use it right away, something that they so want to do, so that I got into it early and was teaching coaches, and I helped to design the first set of competencies for the International Coaching Federation that I was able to establish myself. And the other thing is that I signed up for the National Speakers Association early on when I became a coach because I wanted to be able to impact people, inspire them, be authentic on the stage. And I really learned a lot about how to, so I do a lot of keynotes, how to really do a powerful keynote. And that's been really important, because when I finish there, everybody's like, oh, that was so great, and then they want to learn more. So then they want to hire you or read you, at least buy your books, so yeah.
So in terms of adult learning, I know it changes from adolescence, but for the most part, we're very visual creatures. I imagine your speeches are great, keynotes are great, your books are great. What do you have a combination you recommend for people?
In terms of?
Do you have videos they can watch? Do you have things they listen to versus reading, or specifically, how do you have workshops where people actually can take action to really reinforce it? Can you speak to some of that?
I have a YouTube channel. You can watch me coach. There's lots of coaching demonstrations as well as little snippets of coaching skills. There, my website's covisioning.com, and I don't do a
great name.
Thank you. I don't do a lot of public workshops. I'm usually hired by people to do that. It makes it easier than me having to market a public workshop. Okay. But I have a newsletter that announces if I do a lot of webinars for ICF chapters, and those are all free, for chapters all over the world. So, if you pay attention to that, or my LinkedIn profile, I'm always helping to promote the presentations that I do. So that would be good. And then take a look on my website at my books, because there may be one that fits you better, like Outsmart Your Brain, how to learn how to do that. Or I wrote a book for women leaders called Wander Woman, because we tend to wander. We get fed up after about 5 years, and actually it's less now, and go on to somewhere else, and it was based on my doctoral research of smart, strong women in the workplace and what challenges we face. So, women still finding that book and find it useful. So take a look at that and see if there's something that would be useful for you.
Okay, excellent. What's since you brought it up, if people want to find those, that your YouTube channel or your books and stuff, what are some of the websites they can go search right now?
Well, again, my website's Covisioning, and then, most of the stuff is on there. There's a link to my, I believe the YouTube's on there, and LinkedIn and all of that.
Okay.
It's
links to those channels. Okay.
Yeah, you can find me most anywhere. I think if you Google me, I come up in a bunch of pages. So.
Okay. Is there a specific book you would recommend they start with, or is it really depending upon their focus?
I think, because my last two books have been specifically for coaches or people really wanting to use coaching in the work that they do. That breakthrough coaching is my most recent, and Coach the Person, Not the Problem. But even the discomfort zone, it was written for leaders having difficult conversations. How do you make your difficult conversations productive? So that might be useful for you. So I think if you go to my website and click on books, they're all listed right there. Yeah. So.
Okay, excellent. So in your field, what has been one of the biggest challenges you had to overcome in your career?
Having people understand what coaching is. Most people still, they think it's so amazing. When they hire me, and we have this conversation before they hire me, that they think a coach is someone who's going to give them books to read and tell them what to do. That's a mentor. That's a guide. I don't do that. I help you think. You're a smart person, and the more emotions you have around a dilemma, the more stuck you are, and you can't see beyond that. And I just help you think through that fog of fear and confusion so you can see your own way forward. And for most of the people that I know that I work with, they realize how critical that is, that I don't need to give them books and advice and things to do and homework. I don't need to do that.
That's for you to get to load up your tool belt.
Absolutely. You can go find them yourself. So, yeah.
Right. But it sounds like another way of maybe saying it is you're another set of eyes that come into the situation and help them find the way, right? Their own blind spots. They may be stuck telling themselves stories based off of limiting beliefs or other things.
It's interesting about it is another set of eyes. It's what it is, it's based in reflective inquiry. So you're telling me your situation, and I pick up the key words that, and just ask you, so, what do you mean by you want to be more confident? What do you mean by that?
Right.
What does that look like for you? So I would just use reflection. I share what you say, and you can see your thinking out here, which you can't do when it's stuck up here.
Right.
And it's like, oh, right, I'm thinking that way. And it's different. We look at it together out here, and then you can see beyond the gaps in your logic and the fears holding you back and all the shoulds, people telling you should, and that are confusing you when you make decisions, and you see a clear way forward with confidence. And it's so powerful, So, I mean, if you go on my YouTube channel, watch some of my coaching demonstrations, you'll see how quickly, because I can do this in, 15, 20 minutes. It's like, wow, great. Or, the breakthrough isn't always, wow, thank you. Often it's like, duh, I should have known that,
Right. Right. But
and I love the duh effect. Yeah.
They had their blinders on, or
of course you knew it, So that's what I help you see. Yeah.
Okay. Incredibly valuable stuff, no doubt.
Thank you.
Okay. So you mentioned what you said? You mentioned the Barrows and Mayo and some other stuff. I mean, but you do global stuff. So how much is in the States? How much is in Arizona? How much is in the States in general versus out of the country?
Yeah. Well, prior to the pandemic, I was traveling like every month, every other month, and then that hit and a lot of things went to Zoom. But now I'm going back out, and I don't do a lot of work in Arizona. If somebody contacts me and we figure it out, then I'll do it. But again, I usually come home and look out my window to the beautiful mountain and enjoy the weather, But I can't give you a percentage because it changes a lot. But like I leave in a week and a half for China. I go to China twice a year. Since September, that'll make the 6th country I've been to.
Okay. Wow.
But the end of the year is always busy. So then I'm home January and February, which is the best time to be home in Phoenix.
Heck yeah.
See how that happens. And I'm already booking, and I've just booked 2 trips already to London and Norway for next year. So I'm kind of all over the place. But that's why I don't have a lot of clients, because I can't do like every other week at Tuesday at 2. I don't do that. But most of my clients, they're busy and they can't do it either. So each time we'll just look at, okay, let's set our next session. And we do this. So the clients come from all over. I've got, 1 in California. I've got 4 from an insurance company that's located back east, that they have a leadership program. So they give all the leaders going through their program a coach, as well as an internal mentor, which is nice.
Right.
So it's just they come from all over. So I do probably more coaching domestically and then training in other countries.
Okay. And I imagine, you've been very successful, and as you continue to grow your business and stuff, you do probably more bigger scope trainings and bigger workshops and so forth, and probably has to be a pretty special client to get on your calendar.
Yeah, it goes up and down. I also, and this is why I don't do a lot of my own stuff. It's like, I'd rather have somebody else, do the marketing and the invoicing and all of that, and especially at this point in my life, it's like, okay, I'll go do this if it seems fun. And I'm fortunate enough that I can make that decision. So yeah, I'm not looking to like build that much more. Just keep being out there and staying visible so people see me,
Okay.
and then it
Right.
works.
Okay. And in terms of the future, what your plans are for the business, but also your future prosperity, right? What are your thoughts on investments? What do you look for? What are your sort of revenue stream plans?
Well, I do have, I've had financial planner for years. I don't count on myself to know. I've had a few good investments that somebody gave me, bought a new car with that, but I really count on him, and, we meet and all, but I've got to take Social Security next year.
Oh, wow.
So now you know how old I am. So you got to know that I'm also thinking about, okay, so what do I want to do in the next decade that I'm approaching? And that's why I think now, I was really focused in building my business. I've had this business for 30 years now, and it's a fabulous business, and I will keep it going. I just signed, I told you, a new contract to do the new edition of Coach the Person, Not the Problem. So I'll keep working. But I have to say that I feel I'm very grateful that the visibility that I have created in my niche world, gives me the steady income that keeps me going, and knowing that my investments are doing well enough that when I say, okay, enough's enough, I'm good.
Right. You have the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. So do you have anything, you mentioned a couple of trips you have already booked next year. Do you have any particular exciting new initiatives or plans you want to share?
Actually, I do a lot of work for coaching.com, and they have, summits and programs. So it's not just for coaches, it's for leaders too. And I'm doing a free big workshop for them on kicking off your year with visioning, setting your purpose, your vision, your goals. But I do a coaching mastery program for them online and some other things, and it's just so much fun. So I will continue to do work with them. We have a really nice partnership, and just things come up, So
Sure.
So I'm excited to see what shows up for next year.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. For our listeners, it's the beginning of December right now when we're recording this, and I think we're about 3 weeks out or something right now. So hopefully this will be in time for you guys to go onto coaching.com and look for some of those New Year workshops or seminars or whatever
or just email me. I'll give you the information.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. I have a reflection question as we wrap things up here. I like to ask people, looking back, what do you wish you would have known sooner about building wealth and success in your career?
One of the most important times in my life was when I left my last business. I helped them go public, and we did very well. We were the top revenue producing IPO in 1993. I helped them with the whole transformation of the company, because when they hired me on the day of a layoff, they were close to going bankrupt, and so it was a big, huge thing. And then they wanted to quit my programs, hit the glass ceiling, do something I didn't want to do. And, so I left, and a lot of people told me I was really stupid. I was leaving a lot of money on the table and all that. And I said, but it's not fun anymore, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I didn't know I was going to become this well-known coach, which is cool. But I was telling this woman, well, I've got this much money and it's good enough. She goes, oh no, that's not enough. You need to have at least $1 million in the bank to feel safe enough. And then probably more to retire. And I'm like, oh my God, I'd never set my sights that big. And I remember the years ago when I got online with my financial advisor and we opened up my portfolio and I was over $1 million, I cried because I really didn't think working on my own and not having a 401k from somebody else, it was before I was an LLC, that I would meet that. But for her to make me set my sights higher, that was like the best thing. And when I told her this, I saw her a couple of years ago and she goes, I don't remember telling you that. And I said, but it was so important, for me. And like you said, it's freedom. And the teacher who started my coaching school and the International Coaching Federation, Thomas Leonard, he's no longer with us. He said, financial independence isn't being wealthy. It's not having any debt. Then you can do whatever you want. So go pay off your bills and that advice, and then knowing that I could create a life that I feel safe and will be okay. Then those are the two things that have really helped me to move forward.
Okay, excellent. Love it. Love it. Yeah, that sort of having any sort of liability or obligation over some people is really a heavy burden and distracting from the peaceful forward progress that you want to be.
Then you get scared and make decisions out of fear and not dreams.
Yes. Great. Well said. Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Marcia Reynolds. If people would like to connect with you again, they just Google you. You said it was probably more than sufficient.
Either on LinkedIn or my website has a contact, and it comes directly to my email. So, but Marcia at covisioning.com is a way. But I am going to China on the 12th, so I don't respond quickly when I'm there.
Okay, good for you.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening and watching. Thank you very much, Dr. Marcia Reynolds, for joining me today. We appreciate you sharing your story and insights into success and coaching. Thank you.
Thank you.
Inspired by our guests? Visit PhoenixProsperityPodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.